In the vibrant city of Jacksonville, Florida, nestled in the northeast corner of the state, lived Mark and his wife, Ruth Miller. Their names were known in the community, not just for their charm, but because they owned one of the largest cold storage companies in town, Crystal Free Storage. Ruth was the true mastermind behind the business, having built it from the ground up before she even married Mark. It wasn't just her drive that made the company successful. It was her vision and keen business sense that turned a small cold storage unit into a thriving enterprise. But out of love and respect for her husband, she quietly placed his name as the public face of the company. She didn't want any, and especially their future children, to think that she was more successful than her husband. To Ruth, marriage was about partnership. She wanted Mark to feel valued and appreciated. The company thrived under Mark's leadership, with the local community seeing him as the brilliant businessman behind Crystal Free Storage. Little did they know, it was Ruth who had guided many of the critical decisions behind the scenes, ensuring its growth while keeping a low profile. They lived in a grand house that overlooked the river, a serene place where love and laughter filled the rooms. Despite their wealth and success, however, one thing was missing: children. 3 years into their marriage, they were still childless. Ruth felt the absence more deeply than anyone could imagine. She longed for the day she would become a mother, but as the years passed, her hope began to wane. They saw specialists, underwent treatments, but the doctors found no reason why Ruth couldn't conceive. Yet the child she prayed for never came. With each passing year, Ruth grew more distant, her dreams of motherhood slipping further away. Despite the sorrow that weighed heavily on her heart, Ruth never allowed her feelings to interfere with her marriage. She loved Mark deeply, and they continued living as a devoted couple, waiting for a miracle. And then, one bright morning, Ruth discovered she was pregnant. The joy that surged through her was unlike anything she had ever felt before. The news was a blessing that renewed hope in their lives. Ruth's pregnancy was smooth, and months later, they were blessed with a healthy, bouncing baby boy named Lucas. From the moment he was born, he became the center of their world. Mark and Ruth put all their love and attention into Lucas. They gave him everything: love, care, and the best education money could buy. As Lucas grew older, he believed his father was the one who had built the empire. Ruth, always humble, never corrected him. She wanted Lucas to learn the value of humility, so she quietly let him believe that Mark was the true hero of their family's success.
Lucas attended the best schools in Jacksonville. Ruth ensured that he had the best tutors and resources to excel. But what truly set Lucas apart from other children was his deep respect for his family. He admired his mother for her strength and gentleness, and he looked up to his father as a model of success and wisdom. By the time Lucas reached his teenage years, Crystal Free Storage had expanded even further. Mark, though still managing the business, began to show signs of slowing down. He knew that one day, Lucas would have to take over. Mark began training his son early, teaching him everything he knew about running the company. Lucas was eager to learn, and over time, it became clear that he had inherited his father's sharp business acumen. Ruth continued to remain in the background, quietly running the company's operations while supporting her son's growth. She was proud of the man Lucas was becoming, but she also noticed how deeply he admired Mark. Ruth never sought the spotlight, content with her role as the loving wife and mother who ensured that everything functioned smoothly. She never once thought about revealing the truth to Lucas that she was the one who had made it all possible. She wanted to keep the family's image intact, believing that Lucas should continue to view Mark as the true leader of their empire. Then, life took an unexpected turn. Lucas graduated from one of the most prestigious universities in Florida and joined the family business full-time. He quickly became a rising star in the business world, just as Mark had hoped. But as Lucas found his footing in the company, tragedy struck. Mark had to attend an important business conference in New York, and on his return, the plane he was aboard crashed in a horrific accident. There were no survivors. The news hit Ruth like a ton of bricks. Her world crumbled as she learned that the love of her life, the father of her child, was gone. Ruth's heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. The entire community mourned with her, but no one could understand the depth of her grief. It wasn't just the loss of Mark, it was the loss of a future she had built with him. The dreams they had shared, and the life they had envisioned together. Lucas was equally devastated. His father had always been his role model, and now he was gone. But unlike Ruth, Lucas had something she no longer had: the energy and drive to pick up the pieces and move forward. He took over the family business, just as Mark had trained him to do. He worked tirelessly, determined to honor his father's memory. But for Ruth, life would never be the same. Despite the love she still felt for Lucas, the absence of Mark left a permanent void in her heart. She buried her grief and poured all her remaining strength into supporting her son. Even as her health began to decline, Ruth never stopped caring for Lucas. Life in Jacksonville continued, though the scars of their loss remained. Crystal-free storage continued to thrive under Lucas's leadership. He worked tirelessly, determined to keep the family business going and honor his father's legacy. Meanwhile, Ruth, still in the background, helped where she could. Then, one day during a community networking event, Lucas met a woman named Leah Hayes. Leah was captivating, a beautiful, ambitious woman with a magnetic personality. She was everything Lucas thought he wanted. The two hit it off immediately, and Lucas quickly became enchanted by her. At first, Ruth was happy to see Lucas smiling again, but something about Leah made her uneasy. She was too perfect, too polished, and Ruth couldn't shake the feeling that Leah had ulterior motives. Over time, Ruth noticed a change in her son. Lucas, once so respectful and humble, now seemed to be falling under Leah's spell. He became more arrogant, dismissive of the values Ruth had worked so hard to instill in him. After just 3 months of dating, Lucas surprised Ruth with the news that he and Leah were getting married. Ruth was shocked. She had never seen this coming. "Are you sure about this, Lucas?" Ruth asked gently, concerned about her son's future. "It seems like it's all happening so fast." But Lucas, filled with excitement, brushed off her concerns. "Mom, I love her. You'll see, she's the one." The wedding took place in a lavish ceremony, the talk of the town. Guests marveled at Leah's beauty and charm, but Ruth felt a cold chill in her heart as she watched the vows being exchanged. She couldn't shake the feeling that Leah wasn't marrying Lucas for love but for something else entirely. Things quickly began to change after the wedding. Leah moved into their home, and soon Ruth found herself pushed to the background. The once warm and loving atmosphere of their house began to shift. Small things at first, like Leah suggesting redecorations to fit her tastes. But soon, it became clear that Leah wanted to take full control. Ruth felt her presence in her own home shrinking. One evening, Leah called a family meeting. Ruth sat nervously as Leah announced that she was going to make some changes. She wanted to streamline the household, cutting costs by eliminating the families to maids and having Ruth take over their duties. Lucas, torn between his love for his mother and his new wife's demands, hesitated, but in the end, he agreed. Ruth's heart sank as she realized that the woman she had feared had already started taking control of everything she held dear. The family, the company, and even her beloved son were slipping away. Ruth knew she had to act before it was too late. Her health continued to decline, but her determination grew stronger. She couldn't let her family legacy slip into the hands of someone who didn't care about it. The time had come for Ruth to reveal the truth to Lucas, the truth about who really owned the family business, and the sacrifices she had made for them all.